MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is not happy about the response to his appearance at a Trump press briefing on Monday. In fact, I want to show you that press briefing, as insane as it was, and then we'll get to to the response on that. Take a look.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your call to action, which has empowered companies like MyPillow to help our nation win this invisible war. Now I wrote something off the cuff, if I can read this. Okay. God gave us grace on November 8, 2016, to change the course we were on. God had been taken out of our schools and lives. A nation had turned its back on God. And I encourage you to use this time at home to get back in the Word, read our Bibles, and spend time with our families. With our great president, vice president, and this administration, and all the great people in this country praying daily, we will get through this and get back to a place that's stronger and safer than ever.
Once again, why? Why is the MyPillow guy there? And why does it sound like I'm in the middle of a sermon? That's the Rose Garden, and they're supposed to be giving updates on what's going on in the country as it pertains to COVID-19. Now, I understand that he's there talking about how, we're going to make some face masks and everything like that. Well, they're not making the right kind of masks that are in demand right now. What we need is the N95 respirator masks. What he's going to be making is, allegedly, is the normal cotton masks, which you use for surgery, which are important, but those aren't the ones that are massively in demand. And so, of course, he got criticism from progressives and also people in the media. For example, you had Jim Acosta, who was watching that press briefing as it was going on, and also Chris Hayes. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what Chris Hayes says, and this is a clip from Lou Dobbs' show.
I personally can't help but feel these daily sessions are bad for the country, even dangerous from a public health perspective. It seems crazy to me that everyone's still taking them when you got the MyPillow guy getting up there talking about reading the Bible.
I mean, look, that's just a small little bit of criticism. He gets into it a little bit further, and he said that this is essentially counterproductive because of the president's falsehoods. Notice how Dobbs, of course, leaves that out. And basically, Chris Hayes is like, this guy has not been honest. And he's basically been using these briefings, these press briefings, as campaign rallies, since he can't actually go out and campaign anymore. And so Hayes also suggested that Trump, by calling on people like Lindell, was basically detracting from credibility, right? And, when you're the president of the United States in the middle of a crisis, you want to maintain that credibility. But Donald Trump has not been doing so. He's been spreading fake news, talking about cures that aren't actually cures, or at least not that we know yet, because you need investigation into that and to make sure that it actually works and doesn't have side effects and that it's all that stuff, right? Now, Acosta basically said the same thing. He suggested that presidential briefings about a global pandemic should feature more medical experts, people like Dr. Fauci, and fewer business representatives that basically went in there and touted their companies and then kissed Trump's ass. And he's not wrong. I mean, they're both not wrong. What are we getting from these briefings? We're getting nothing. I mean, essentially it's thoughts and prayers. Literally, go home, read your Bible, and pray. Well, I guess we have to because the government's not going to do anything under Donald Trump. But look, really, this is a great avenue for people who are grifters to go and ply their grift, ply their trade, all while, again, stroking Donald Trump's ego. So now Lindell, obviously he was not thrilled about this criticism about him, and he goes on this long diatribe on Dobbs' show.
Wow. The pillow guy reading the Bible.
I'll tell you what, I heard Jim. I heard Jim Acosta attack me too, and he was 10 feet from me in the Rose Garden. This is just evil, Lou. This is evil. I was talking to the president. I said, Mr. President, you doing these press conferences. I said, I've had friends of mine that are on the left. And here I showed him one of my texts. It says, Mike, I'm not a big fan of President Trump, but God bless him. He is doing an amazing job. I think he's turning me. These are the real people that are seeing now that this president has done the best man in charge for such a time as this. It's just those newscasters, those journalists and we know who they are. And I'm going to say it, CNN, what they did to me, I'm sorry. I put out a message of hope to the country that God had given us grace on November 8, 2016 for such a time where a nation had turned his back on God. And right now, we're part of this big revival. We can sit at home and we can go there, get back in the Word with our Bible, spend time with our families, and everybody pray that we have this great administration that can make some decisions to get us through this. And I can't. I'm appalled by the journalists that I see there. I used to think, are they really that evil? Well, yes, they are.
Evil. They're evil, I tell you. Those journalists, how dare they? Now, I love how the anecdote in the middle is like, well, I got friends on the left. First of all, bullcrap. Especially the part about, well, I tell them how great of a job Donald Trump is doing all the time. And and they say, oh man, he's starting to turn me. Really? Look, to be fair, because we like to point out facts in the show, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up during this crisis. That's because he's constantly on TV. But what he's doing, and he's showing far more leadership than somebody like Joe Biden, who is showing absolutely, let's be honest, very, very little leadership. And that should worry a lot of people. It certainly worries me. But like, Trump's been out there, and yes, he's been putting out a lot of falsehoods. He's been lying a lot. And he's been spreading dangerous conspiracies as normal, right? But at least being out there gives people the appearance that he is doing at least something. That something, of course, look, what little he's done now, right? And he has started to do things. He has started to take this a little bit more seriously. But that doesn't excuse the months of which the administration has known about this crisis and has done absolutely nothing. Nothing. But back to Lindell. The thing about Lindell is like Donald Trump, he's a grifter. And when what he's claiming is that he would have his company dedicate 75% of its manufacturing to produce cotton face masks, right? So now, on the face of it, you're like, oh, great. He's helping out with the PPE storage or shortage. The thing is, as I mentioned before, those are not the masks that they need. They need the N95 respirators, not the surgical masks. They're not short on those as far as I know. But hey, look, if they are, and if he actually holds up his end of the bargain and actually does what he's supposed to do, or what he says he's going to do, produce a ton of masks and not gouge people when it comes to prices, actually sells them at a fair price, well, then that's fine. No criticism there. In fact, great, wonderful, awesome. But maybe he will, maybe he won't. We don't necessarily know. Allies of this guy describe him as someone who, talks big, right? But generally forgets, just doesn't follow through. That sounds familiar. Well, Donald Trump also talks big and then either forgets or doesn't follow through. So I'm just saying they're a lot alike, apparently. And now the other thing about Lindell is that, look, he's a big Trump supporter. We know that. And so he gave a lot of money to Trump, and he goes out and constantly praises Trump. And so that's why Donald Trump had him at this briefing. It's not because he's going to do all this wonderful philanthropic stuff. Okay, I cannot say that word apparently, but he's going to do all this wonderful stuff, right? And really help out the medical professionals that are in need of PPE, right? Again, we don't know if that's going to happen, but he goes up there under that excuse to basically hawk his company and bask in the great PR, Whereas Donald Trump has him up there because he gave him a lot of money. Lindell did, and kisses his ass. And so that's how you do it. And another thing, though, is since Donald Trump likes Lindell so much, he keeps pushing him to run for governor of Minnesota. And so a lot of this is political. A lot of this is ridiculous. And all this time spent fluffing Donald Trump's pillows could have instead been used to give people actual information about COVID-19. And so I think that's a lot more evil than criticizing a known grifter, which is what Chris Hayes and Jim Acosta were doing. And I say grifter because Lindell has lied about the benefits of his pillow. In fact, prosecutors from 9 California counties sued MyPillow for running deceptive ads about the health and healing properties of his products. And in 2016, the company actually had to settle the claim for about $1 million in civil penalties. So, grifter, trash. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.